Hello friends! Once again we find ourselves in a scenario where we feel like we are in limbo with no answers and no clear direction. And it seems like our cultural inclination toward instant gratification is being greatly challenged, and that's not such a bad thing. Instant gratification, part of that whole sense of knowing where things are going and what time and how, part of that has to do with our health as well, because a lot of times we just want a pill or something that's quick, that's going to make us feel better. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but when that isn't what ends up happening, when we take said pill or do said activity, then we end up in a similar mental state and emotional state as we may be experiencing now between COVID and the election not being resolved. And that's that state of limbo, and it can bring about various emotions. It can make us feel angry or afraid or sad. And in Ayurveda, a lot of times teachers describe these different emotions as being related to the different mind-body constitutional types. And by calling them mind-body constitutional types and relating the emotional states that we experience to a constitution, we're not accurately defining what the types are in Ayurveda. So I haven't discussed the constitutional types yet as far as the bodily constitution goes, but because of everything that's going on right now, I think it's really helpful to discuss the mental constitutional types. And those are called the gunas. And there are 3 gunas. And those are sattva, which is translated to mean clarity, a state of calmness, a state of equanimity. So not having attachment and aversion to things, and being instead in a state of receptivity and awareness and clarity, infused with a little vein of joy and acceptance. And so that is a sattvic mind state. And so you can think about the different emotions that might be associated with a sattvic quality of mind. And those would be a sense of contentment, of gratitude, of love, of joy, of serenity, of peace. Those are all states of sattvic mind. And being able to differentiate truth from fiction, this is also part of being in a sattvic state of mind. So a sattvic state of mind is actually a state of presence, and Eckhart Tolle talks about this a lot. He talks about being in the present moment. And so when we are in the present moment, we aren't lingering in memories of the past, and we aren't yearning for things to come in the future. Instead, we are in that state of gentle acceptance and awareness with what is in that given moment, whether we like it or not. And so that is sattva. That is a sattvic state of mind. And then there is tamas, T-A-M-A-S. And a tamasic state is one in which there is sort of a dullness to one's awareness. If you've ever felt ill and you've been really kind of out of it and not really thinking clearly, not really wanting to think at all, just kind of in that state where you're just sort of like vegging out at the TV or whatever, that's more of a state of tamas, or a tamasic state of mind. And that state of mind, we can imagine that being associated with such emotions as maybe some sadness, despondence, detachment, dullness. sometimes depression. So that is the tamasic state of mind. And the tamasic state of mind is actually useful at many times. So like in those instances where you aren't feeling well, if there's a state of like dullness or tamas that comes over you, then you're not inclined to feel motivated to go do the next thing. You're more inclined to rest. And that's what the body needs when you're not feeling well. Also, when we go to sleep at night, we want a tamasic state to shroud our clarity and our thinking and our motivation and our inclination to want to do things, because we want to be able to go into a deep, restful sleep. So there are benefits to this mind state. The third is rajas, and that's R-A-J-A-S. And rajas, or rajasic mind state, is one in which the thoughts are fluctuating quickly. It is reflective of a lot of activity of the mind. And that can be useful when we are using our intellect to problem solve and to make decisions. But it can be overly engaged when we are worrying a lot or when we're overthinking things. And this rajasic state of mind it leads to more of a feeling of needing to get something done. And sometimes the rajasic state of mind may include such emotions as anger and judgmentalness of oneself, of others, of things not being good enough, of frustration. So those are the kind of negative mental states that go along with rajasic thinking. So when we look from an Ayurvedic perspective at one's mental constitution, what we're really looking at is what state of mind is this person's go-to? What is their base for their state of being? Are they mostly rajasic? Do they go into overthinking, over-worrying, maybe even some anxiety, judgmentalness? Or are they more tamasic? Do they lean toward kind of sticking their head in the sand? Are they less apt to make decisions? Are they less apt to adapt to change or to even want it? Or are they more sattvic? Do they have a tendency to recenter themselves repeatedly and to have a calmness and a clarity to their general state of being, so that they can actually say that they feel pretty good? Even if, there are aches or pains overall, and I'm sure that you can all relate to this, if you feel mentally and emotionally balanced and like you're not, pissed off at anything, or you're not sad about anything, or you're not anxious about anything, then generally you'll feel like you feel better. And so even if there is stuff going on with the body, if the mind is at peace, if the mind is in more of a sattvic state, then we're better able to manage what comes up about what's happening in the body. And we're better able to manage and see more clearly with our wisdom body, with the wisdom aspect of ourselves, what's happening in the world around us, so that we are not overly attached or overly trying to pull away from it, but that we feel like we can hold our space and hold our ground and still have feelings and senses about things, but not have those take us over. And so with regard to these three states of mind, I ask you to reflect on which one you find yourself in most often. And obviously, overall, what we want to do is try to get ourselves into more of a sattvic state of mind. And so to do that, things that we can do include meditation. Some people already feel rajasic and resistant about meditation, or tamasic and stuck and stubborn about not wanting to do it because they feel like they don't do it right. Meditation is actually the end result of the practice of concentration. So what we're doing when we meditate is we're trying to focus on one simple thing. And by doing so, that simple thing is something that is available to the mind to grasp onto in that moment. And as a result, it keeps pulling the mind out of going into thinking about the past or diving into thinking about the future. And it brings the energy more into the body, out of the head, and makes the person feel more stable and balanced. And by doing that, it starts to regulate the pranic flow in the body and the mind. So we'll do a little meditation right now just to stabilize the prana, to stabilize the mind and the emotions, and to cultivate a more sattvic sense of being, a more clarity state of mind, a clear state of mind, one in which we feel like we can connect to ourselves and to nature and to the kind of the ground of being, in a sense, so that we aren't overly pulled off kilter. So you want to come into a comfortable seated position, and you can actually also do this lying down. If you're walking as you're listening, I encourage you to just kind of sink in right now and feel your legs, feel the air around you. Really bring yourself into a state of presence with what your body is feeling like in the moment. And if you're seated or lying down, pay attention to what you're feeling, where you're feeling your body touch the ground or touch the bed or the couch or the table or the chair or the floor. Feel where you touch the ground. And then let yourself, on your next breath in, sit up a little bit taller. And if you're walking, lift your sternum a little bit toward the sky. So you're standing up taller, shoulders will relax more, and shoulder blades kind of pull back behind you a little tiny bit. And if you're sitting or lying down, rest your arms alongside of you or on your lap or on your belly. And as you exhale, your next exhale, keep that length in your spine, but let everything else soften. Let your forehead soften, your face, your jaw, your neck, your shoulders, your back, your belly, your butt, your legs. Everything that doesn't need to be engaged to keep you upright or to keep you together. Let that go. And then close your eyes, and I invite you to take 3 or 4 breaths like we did yesterday, breathing into where it feels comfortable and no more. Feel where your palms are touching you, if they are. Feel where your breath is going when it comes in. And as you breathe in, allow yourself to feel as if you are breathing in infinite space. Feel as if you are breathing in infinite space. And as you breathe out, let that infinite space fill the air around you. begin to be aware of your skin as if it is a holder or a container for infinite space. And as you breathe in this infinite space, the container expands in every direction. And as you breathe out, it shrinks. As you breathe in, it expands. And as you breathe out, it gets smaller. And as you do this, welcome the sense that the skin is actually becoming thinner and more porous. And that as you breathe in infinite space, it starts to shine out through these thin places in the skin and starts to shine out through the openings that emerge. And as you exhale, that the skin just becomes dissolved into this infinite space, this glowing infinite space. Welcome the awareness that there is a continuation from the inside of your body to the external world. Welcome this sense of connection and openness. And security with allowing. Again, feel your palms touching your body. Or if you're walking, feel them swaying alongside of you, touching the air. Bring awareness to your points of contact with the earth. It may be through a floor or through shoes. It doesn't matter. Through gravity, we are connected with the earth and electromagnetism. We are not ever disconnected from it. Only our awareness of it is disconnected. But by bringing our awareness to connection with the earth, with the air, with the prana, with the space around us, we change the dynamic entirely of our experience of being in this moment. And when you are ready, begin to open your eyes. And I invite you to welcome a sense of gratitude with your willingness to stay with this simple practice today. And I wish you all a sattvic rest of your day. Namaste.